Sit back, relax, get comfortable, close your eyes. Breathe in slowly. Slowly breathe out. Breathe in and out 3 times slowly. Picture a white light energy pulse. See and feel the light within you as a mother of pearl softness, bathing your body with a gentle glow. See the light surround every cell and atom of your body. As the cells and atoms accelerate, they begin to spin, releasing the white light to clear and energize your body, mind, and emotions. Breathe in slowly. Slowly breathe out.
Fill those lungs with strength, with courage, with glorious guidance of universal mystery, for it is the power of life, the breath of freedom. For your voice can sing to change the world, to bring light where there is darkness, to bring love unto the loveless, to sing the joyous songs of harmony, to reduce the wants of humanity and their needs, to feed those who starve of heaven's light, that they too may climb the mountainous path. Fill those lungs with the breath of freedom. Brought to you by WKTV. I'm Wayne Thomas. Welcome to another Grand Rapids Ghost Hunters Paranormal Podcast.
I'm Brandon Jose of Kent County Paranormal. Thank you for joining our forum in search of paranormal possibilities.
I'm Kim Colleen. Please keep an open mind about things you might not easily believe as we explore the mysterious.
The mysterious. We're going to define that word here tonight with our special guest, believe me. And among the mysterious, tonight's podcast producer, Matt Zuby. Thanks, Matt, for helping out. Appreciate it. And we'd like to review, and last time our podcast host was Barb Best. She was really a far out, intriguing person. She brought in Evelina, her friend, and we had Laura Briggs fill in because we did it at an odd time. Kim couldn't make it.
Yep.
So
thanks, Laura.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Laura. Barb Best, she was a Coptic teacher, intuitive, esoteric healer. She had a variety of paranormal experiences. She talked about the jinn, Jinn, or DJINN, not to be confused with the genie. I don't know if our featured guests are familiar with the jinn.
No, actually, I am not.
Brandon's familiar with the jinn. There's some precautions, right, Brandon, when it comes to dealing with something that's not a genie.
Yeah, I'm not as much of an expert on all the things of the jinn, kind of like what to do. It's kind of a very ancient spiritual energy. But, yeah, like I have to do more studying on everything on that in terms of that realm. There's so many things of the paranormal to study into. It's hard to get a knowledge on every single thing, you know.
Right, but
kind of study kind of what you're kind of going into, kind of a thing, or what
the jinn is known for
be.
trickery, not to be trusted. So if you happen to run into something you think it might be a jinn, it's not something to play with. And Barb's message, she has said, meditate using chakras is the key to integrating with your higher self. And she also said that love is the best defense against dark forces. She cautioned us, don't get attached and hung up on this material world. That's one of the worst things you can do. Use the meditation to find your higher self. And like I said, love is the best defense against negative energy. But she was so mysterious, and I thought that our featured guests tonight are going to fit right in because it's kind of like it's just an addition to what Barb Best was offering. I ran into Mary, one of our featured guests. She's a Facebook friend. And so I learned some things. You can learn things off Facebook. I learned that she's the head dispatcher at Barry County Transit. And we have mutual friends. Darren Dykehouse with Lakeshore, Paranormal,
awesome.
and Ken Decker with Kips. And that's what attracted me to you, is because you're was friends with my friends who are into paranormal. So I figured had to be spooky.
Well, yeah.
You must be if you know Darren.
I know, right?
Everybody knows Darren all
Yup,
over the world, it
for
seems
sure.
like. But also, I found out that you are a Reiki Master
Yes.
and natural spiritual healer. And you also do the Spiritual Voices podcast, and it's a guided meditation for spiritual awakening. And you sent me some of those. You sent me Soul Retrieval, getting back to your lost essence, past life regression, talking about past lives and how to get to a higher self. I want to get into that one before we leave tonight, because I want to find out if we've all have past lives. So I want to get into that. And you also, another one you sent was on astrology. So you're a busy girl, I think.
I'll try to be. I'd get in trouble if I wasn't.
Yeah, you stay out of trouble because you're so busy. And you said that astrology is God's roadmap, kind of a GPS in the sky, I guess. So Mary is on a mission to bring love, light, and healing to those who need it. Also, her passion. She has a passion for your spiritual discovery. Mary has a very unique business partner who she's included tonight, and we're glad of that. They do Paranormal XL Podcast as Mama Mary and Gigi. So let's meet our featured guests and find out who's who and what they do. Who's who and what they do.
Well, I'm Mama Mary, and been into spirituality for over 10 years. And I started out with the chakras. When I first started developing, had no idea what they were. Not really. But as I grew, I discovered that the interest in chakras was because I'm an energy worker. And I agree with Barb, totally right. The more you can open up your chakras and awaken those energy centers and build that vibration up, the closer you get to the fifth dimension, which is where we're all kind of going. We're supposed to all be in the fifth dimension. We're supposed to move out of that third dimension and go to the fifth dimension and discover that love's all that exists. Not fear. It's not even real. It's just love and spreading it to everybody else.
So your Spiritual Voices podcast, that's so to teach people how to clear
Yes.
those chakras and
Well,
release
yeah,
that
because
energy.
when I first started into the spirituality, that's what I did, was guided meditations. And so that's how I try to feed other people's souls. Because there's a lot of people out there with depression and anxiety, and they don't have to have that. They're just stuck. They just need to remove that energy and believe in themselves. And then, a couple of years ago, Sarah came into my life, and
a.k.a.
or
Gigi.
Gigi, sorry.
Alias Gigi, so
Gigi.
we're going to confuse
And
people.
She kind of brought me out of my box a little bit more and kind of pushed me into trying new things, like doing a podcast. Always came to my little classes and supported me and brought people and
wine.
and
Brought
wine, lots of wine.
No.
Of course.
So I assume you're both old enough to consume.
Oh,
jeez.
Oh, thanks.
I wasn't sure. I don't know. To be my age, everyone looks young.
Well, no, go ahead.
No, you first.
No,
Go.
you
I'm your
first. You
mother.
were going.
Go.
Yeah, that's the unique relationship here that you need to talk about a little bit. In
It
your,
is
your
unique.
podcast.
I'm Gigi. I am founder of Paranormal XL Podcast and Investigations Crew. I started the podcast. That's a whole different story, actually, as to why I started it. But with Mary, I started it with her because, well, I'd go over and see them once a week anyway, like on Fridays, and I'd ask her the most off-the-wall questions that most people would be like, what? She never judged me, and I knew that she never would. And I was like, you know what? Let's bring everybody else into our conversations. And then in March, we started Paranormal XL Podcast, and that's just spreading the word of love, education, purposes, knowledge, spreading the knowledge and the love, essentially, of things, all things paranormal, and just don't fear anything. People are so fear-based, and they just shouldn't be.
Yeah, they're afraid if they see something and to tell anybody about it because they might get labeled as crazy. Whether it's a spaceship, alien, or whether it's a ghost. They don't
Yeah.
want to tell people about it. But Sheer Paranormal XL is about all things paranormal,
Yes.
quote unquote. The exact same description that we use, by the way, on this show. So I thought that was very interesting. We do the same show. You do a weekly show. Paranormal XL
Yes.
is a weekly podcast. And then, Mary, your podcast is a monthly?
About every 2 weeks, I try to write out the guided meditation, and then I record it. And usually I work on the astrology forecast for the month before. And so I usually get about four of them out there in a month.
Wow.
I try to anyway, when my computer agrees with me.
Wow.
Always tech issues.
You
Always.
girls are,
Always.
yeah, I was listening to some of the issues that you were having. Do you go live Facebook while you do that?
On occasion, we've discussed that. I actually only do. I've just very recently started going live on Facebook. A lot of people ask for that, like when we're out investigating. My issue with that is I'll go on beforehand before we all go out and do our jobs, but I don't want any of my crew to miss anything, to miss that experience. That's why we're there, is to experience that, to reach out to the spirits and see what we can get. So many people are so consumed by, the phone and going, oh my gosh, I'm here. And that's great. I'm not knocking that by any means, but at least for our group, we've done very minimal when it came to the Facebook. Mary and I, there's some Fridays, we visit each other's houses. Sometimes we're still in our pajamas and we're just not going to go on screen. So that's,
nobody wants to see that. So.
not going to lie.
Well, you're comfortable that way.
Oh gosh, yes. And we definitely need to be, because there's times where the episodes that we put out range anywhere from 35 to an hour and a half, and then sometimes we go into 2 or 3 parters, like the Salem one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We could have just kept going forever on that one, but I forgot where I was going.
What's some of the favorite topics that you've talked about on your podcast? Oh, good, you brought notes.
Oh, I
Excellent.
have to. I already know myself.
Yeah, and I take
just
notes.
got
I
out
have
of work
lots of
too,
them,
and
too.
I'm like, I don't know anything. So here's a list of all of it.
There's some of the interesting ones that, really spooky ones.
Oh, spooky ones.
Do you?
Oh yeah, the out of body experiences. I requested that we did that one. We kind of take turns with the topics, because I had questions clearly for her. And when I was a child, I'd go over to my cousin's house, and I remember watching myself play, and I was probably 6, 7 years old, and I would have to tell what are you doing up here? You're up by the door. Get back in there. And then I never understood that. But I still have that
saw
memory.
yourself
Yeah.
from
But I was detaching
out of
for
body.
some reason. I still don't. It was only ever at her house that I detached like that. I'm a complete skeptic, but I know what I felt when I felt it, and I'll never judge anybody else for feeling weird ways or that type of thing. And that was a fun one to do. And then some of the stories that we got from listeners, because again, it kind of opened it for people to write in anonymously and kind of get answers that way without being judged with asking strange questions. But what was one of your favorites?
Well, the Salem was definitely the most favorite. That is kind of dear to us.
We got very emotional in that
We
one. I think
did.
I cried in that one.
There's a lot of history there. We talk about, that's our most fascinating story.
Between us.
We talk about past lives. I remember, it was probably, about 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. And I had a past life reading, and she says, well, your name right now is a name you've had in a past life. I'm like, okay, so, I was thinking about it, and my sister had messaged me the day after talking about synchronicities. And she says, I was just doing research, and there was a Mary Bassett that was persecuted in the Salem witch trials. And I'm like, okay. She, sometimes she exaggerates, so I didn't think anything of it. And then my daughter Jocelyn looked it up, and there was. And then there was a Sara Bassett who was persecuted, and there was a Michael Bassett, and all sorts of different other names. And so the interesting part is their family had done a genealogy. And so when we pulled out that family crest, it's the same exact family.
My family, yes.
Yes.
So I was her mother in a past life with the same name. and she had the same name as Nell.
Well,
And
that
that's-
is very spooky.
I just got chills talking about it.
That is wild.
So the Salem thing, when we got on that, it lasted about
Yeah, it did.
about 2 months worth of research. She actually got to go out there. I was super jealous, but I'm gonna go this year.
It was
We're both gonna
amazing.
go.
It was. All the history.
Now,
And they
Sara Bassett, it sounds familiar to me. Does it ring a bell with you at all, Brandon? Sara, of course, Sara,
That was
kind of whether it was Bassett or not, but especially Sara. Now, do you think we all have past lives?
Oh, yes. Well, we've been here over and over and over again. That's the whole point of being here is there's a heaven, but the whole point of being here is that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We come here to earth to learn our lessons and to live out a destiny that we plan for ourselves so that we can ascend to a higher level and go to a higher vibration. You know, our guides and our angels, they're on the 6th and 7th dimensions. You know, heaven would be considered sort of the 5th dimension. 4th dimension's where you go when you dream and you see family members, called the astral plane. That's when you have your out-of-a-body experience. And then you would just ascend further on up until you don't come back anymore. You stay as a guide or, you know, some kind of master. But that's the whole point, is to grow and grow and grow. When I had my past life reading, she drew me a timeline, and she pointed that I was put here, that I was here from the very beginning, that I was placed here. And I wasn't like born into lifetimes after, you know, Earth began, but I was placed here. And it probably does sound weird, but I'm fully 100% positive that that was most likely been placed here by aliens. I think that's the way our timelines have shifted, that things get created like that, and we're supposed to just continue to grow and raise our vibration and raise the collective whole.
So you're part alien?
Maybe we all are. Who knows? You don't
Yeah.
know.
I just love how she puts it. 'Cause I'm like, you sound
So
freaking
matter of
nuts
fact.
right now. She's like, I know. I was like, that's why I love you.
But it comes so
I
naturally.
could see us being a seed maybe planted from somewhere else, right?
I believe that there's a God. Without a doubt, I believe in God. But I think there's a lot more to that story than just that.
You know
That's
what
my
I
belief.
picked up on Facebook? You're definitely into woman power.
I do.
What?
I'm just. I want to empower everybody, but I know there's a lot of women out there that suffer from depression and, you know, lack of confidence and lack of self-love, and they just need someone to show them that they're not alone.
Right. Yeah, well, this world kind of did that, you know, our culture, it's all built around mailman, firemen, you know, the language even is all male oriented.
Well, yeah, but those are just terms and those are labels. It's not really so much the male oriented. It's just women feel differently than men. They come at life a little bit differently. So when it hits them hard. I've been to rock bottom. I know what it feels like to be alone.
Women had to fight for their right to vote.
Yeah.
They had to fight for their rights
We're
all along.
emotional beings, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
We feel it
We're more
completely.
emotional.
We feel it completely different than men
Yeah,
do.
right.
Like, you know, okay, let's just say women get in a fight, they are not going to let that go. Not for a long, well, they're never going to let that go ever. It don't even matter if it's over a pair of shoes. Men could
well,
get
there's a
into-
difference. Men, it's like what we do is we go outside, beat each other up, then we're the best of friends
Exactly.
afterwards.
Yeah,
you know?
I've always
It's
said
like a
that.
whole real thing.
It's gonna work for me.
If you were a girl, no. It wouldn't matter if I was 99. I'm still going to remember that and remember the clothes you're wearing. It's just
See,
the
to
way it is.
me, it would have to depend on why we were fighting. Like, I've forgot a lot of things. Maybe on purpose, maybe not.
Yeah.
But I'm happy, living my
right.
best life.
There you go.
I hope you like the literary reference we used, because with your podcast, Spiritual Voices, you know, and this was about, you know, using your voice, you know, you can sing to change the world. I think you're changing the world with your voice through those podcasts that you guys are doing, letting people know that they can be comfortable if they're seeing ghosts or if they're seeing aliens, to come forward with that information. You know, that it was part affirmation. Now, do you use the term affirmation?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And could you explain to the viewers and listeners what affirmation is all about?
Affirmation is basically a statement that you can say to yourself to boost yourself up. And it could be, you know, I love myself, I'm strong, and I'm worth it. And it could be just something you say over and over again. each morning I write out my own meditations. I go into the astrology and I dig up what the energy is going to be like for the day. I do a lot of studying and I write out a whole meditation for how that energy is going to be and how I'm going to control it for me for that day. And when I balance my chakras and I do my own little meditation, just like I do on my guided meditations, those are what I do for myself. And I say affirmations every single day. And they'll change your life. They make you feel different. Because eventually you do it enough, you start to feel it.
It's kind of a mantra, but you don't repeat. See, I grew up with transcendental meditation, which they had a mantra that you repeated 3 times. But your affirmations, you don't necessarily repeat 3 times, do you?
Sometimes I do. I kind of go with what I'm feeling I should do, because the way I see it is when I get into my spiritual work and I start to channel, I'm channeling what my guides are leading me to do for the best of me. So if that's what I feel like doing, where it's an affirmation where I need to repeat it, I'll do it. If I feel like I need to write something out that I know how the day is going to be and how it could possibly affect me, I'll write that out, just, for my energy, because everything's energy. These are just material objects. They exist, but what's real is our energy. It's so real that we can literally leave it in the room when we leave. It's, energy's strong. So learn how to protect your energy by building up your chakras. Then nobody can touch you. And that's where the real power is.
Energy is so strong that residual energy can leave a imprint, and that's where you get some ghosts, like what happens at Gettysburg. And some materials absorb that more than others. Limestone, slate, marble, stuff like that absorbs that and then replays it, that energy. Yeah, energy is we're an energy being as well as a physical being.
Yes.
And I don't know, people need to understand that basic lesson right there.
Well, yeah, our bodies are just vessels. They're just carrying our soul. So when the body gives out, the soul and the energy is released. That's why I always tell people that come in and they're mourning their loved ones that there's not so much to mourn. They're still right here. It's just a different form of energy. And if you have a faith enough to try to tap into that energy, you would be surprised at what you can connect with. I speak with my father every day. He passed away over 2 years ago. And I know he's there, and I can feel him when he moves into a room. When I meditate, I'll hear him talk. I mean, anybody can do that. That's not just a spiritual gift. We're all multidimensional creatures. We are meant to do that. That's what we were built to do. We just have to learn to raise that vibration and tap into that energy, and everybody would surprise themselves.
So, yeah, you deal with 7 basic chakras, and then I've heard different names. I've done enough research that I've seen different names for different chakras.
Oh, yeah.
The base chakra, number 1, also has a different name.
The root chakra. And then don't ask me to try to pronounce the other one, because those ones are too difficult. I just stick to the easy ones.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what? When I'm doing yoga and they start talking about like the certain chakras, I'm like, huh? So I just stick to the root chakra, and then the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus, and the heart chakra, and the throat chakra, and the third eye, and the crown. And the heart chakra, that's why love's so important, is those lower chakras is where we hold all of our childhood memories. So anything that traumatizes us, we hold there, and it's stuck. And that's why we find ourselves when we get to our teenage years, right up here, where we go through like the most turmoil, where we're trying to discover ourselves and find ourselves, and our heart gets broken, because the heart chakra is the bridge from our lower energies to our spiritual energies. So when you start that spiritual journey, it's called the Kundalini rising. You have to literally work past your childhood issues so that you can bridge that gap with your heart and start awakening. And that's where energy work really helps come into play, because when I'm doing energy work, I draw out the blockages, and then I spin the chakras the way they're supposed to be going, and then I put the healing energy in. And as I spin those chakras, I raise your vibration, and it's a natural awakening. So you do it enough, and your gifts will start to emerge the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, I learned through your podcast that the heart chakra is the key.
It is.
To move your energy from your lower chakras. So does the vibration increase as you go up?
Yes. And the more you meditate, the more you'll see the difference between a lower vibration and a higher vibration. And then the higher that you get your vibration, then lower vibrations can't affect you anymore because you're just living in joy and love.
I'm trying to take my journey slow. And I have this book, and I tell you what, it starts out with the base chakra. One of the things that it talks about is the mother, God, and all this feminine properties that are in that base chakra. And I'm supposed to do something every week that affirms that femininity. So I have to tell you,
Hear this.
I'm having a little bit of a
Next
problem.
podcast, he's coming in drag.
I was going to say he's like going to shave his legs, but you took it to the next
We want to
level.
go back for that one.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I'm having a problem with that, to tell you the truth. I was captain of the football team, and I was, grew up in the Macho Man area.
Man's
so,
man.
yeah, I'm having a little bit of trouble. I'm like half Grizzly Adams and Neanderthal man right here, without even trying. But I tell you what I've done already, because I was going to ask you what I could do, but I've done a couple things already. Rose quartz. I went and got me some rose quartz because of the properties of it. It enhances the forms of love, the mother love, caring, kindness, self-love, and also moonstone. Got me some moonstone, which is similar. This is the mother goodness stone. Imparts femininity. Now I can cry at a movie, but I'm going to have a hard time with this. I just know it already. What I can do every week to embrace that.
Watch a chick flick.
Oh, come on! There has to be something easier than that.
That's torture.
Yeah, come on. There has to be something. Come on, Mary. Come on, Gigi. There's got to be something for me easier than that I can.
Can you get a
Sorry.
pedicure or a manicure or something? I mean,
Men do that.
That's
still a manly thing.
Yeah.
I've never had that
Well,
done.
You and I, we're gonna go get a
What?
pedicure.
Hey, we'll all go.
It'll be fun.
We'll make plans.
I'll hook you up.
Jeez, This
We'll
may
have
be a
spa
longer.
night at
This
my
may be a
house.
longer journey
Problem
than I'm ready for.
I'll bring the camera so we can have it for
Oh,
the
yeah.
next
He's
I
podcast.
got the camera.
That's funny.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna have some fun with this. I can tell.
I'd like to actually kind of move back a little bit for an explanation on what a chakra is, because for myself, I am not familiar with this whatsoever, and you guys kind of skipped over the meaning of or the description of what a chakra is. So can you kind of back up the horse just a little bit?
The chakras are, energy wheels inside of our body. And actually, we have like hundreds all over our body, but you have the 7 main ones. And basically, they're just spinning wheels of energy, and they draw in energy from the front, and they push out energy through the back. It's how we process and we channel. So everybody has that ability to channel. It's just what you tap into the most. And what happens is energy comes through these centers, whether it's good or bad. And then, if you're not clearing out those chakras, eventually the energy gets stuck and you have ailments, or where you have, stomach cramps for your solar plexus, or you start to have issues. I really got into it when I decided, when I had to get my gallbladder out. And I started doing some more research, and I realized, that was my solar plexus, not my gallbladder. So I had a needless, it was the needless surgery when I could have just balanced my chakras.
Wow. Okay. So how do you begin for somebody who's never
to balance that?
Yeah.
It's easy. It's easier when you listen to a guided meditation, any kind that you can connect with, because then you have, somebody else telling you what to do.
Yeah.
But really, just 3 deep breaths always, because that sends a message to your brain that you're ready to relax.
Okay.
And then you just picture like white light energy and draw it down through your crown chakra and through each of your chakras, and just, envision breathing white light out of each of those chakras, and then just bring it all the way down to your feet, and then bring it all the way back up. And what I like to do, what I do every morning is I do the breathe in, satisfaction, and breathe out gratitude, because by breathing out that gratitude, you're actually holding love in your heart when you breathe, because that's what gratitude is. And then all of a sudden you find yourself happier throughout your day because you're learning how to love yourself. And that's what it's all about, is, loving yourself, because you are a part of God. And That's the way it should be.
Makes sense.
Yeah, this chart talks about the 7 major chakras. Root chakra is the other name for the base that I had heard.
Yep.
And then there's different lights that correspond for each chakra, different colors.
Yep. And those colors are what, makes our aura. If you ever picture an aura, that's what pushes it out. But the root chakra, that's all about the red color. And it's all about being grounded to Mother Earth and connecting with Mother Earth. And so that's a really good color to think about when you're worked up.
The root chakra color?
Yep, red.
Red. My wife got me a bunch of.
She got your back.
She's helping me with this.
Aw.
Right, and then also the sacred lotus flower, very significant to the chakras, and each, as you go up, there's more petals to the flower. And then Buddha only came up with 4 original chakras, though. The navel chakra.
Yeah, it's different in every religion. It's funny. Well, I guess that's typical with any kind of belief. Everybody believes differently. But the whole point of that lotus flower is all about the spiritual awakening. So the more you raise up your chakras and the more petals that you have open, the closer you are to your awakening. And the root chakra, that's all about like groundedness and security. And then you get to the sacral chakra, which is the color of orange. It's all about your sexual energy and your creative energy. And a lot of times when I do my energy work, I will see green mixed in with the orange, and that will tell me that, they're either stuck trying to find what they're passionate about, so they have stuck energy that's mixed in. And one time I was doing energy work, and I saw an electric guitar in the chakra, and I told myself, it's really weird, but I feel like you need to be doing something that you love, but it's an electric guitar. He goes, I used to be in a rock and roll band. We played classic music. I just haven't done it in so long. He goes, but I've been thinking about doing it. I'm like, well, do it, because that's how you're going to heal. It's sort of like that. When you get to your solar plexus, that's your personal power. That's where you stand in your own energy. Are we moving up one? Yes. Oh, yeah, moving up. And this one is all about your own spiritual energy, your own personal power, and how much you give away. So if it was a closed-off chakra, there'd be a lot of people taking advantage of you. And if it was overactive, you would be somebody who was always imposing your power on somebody else. It's this one's all about your balance. When this one's off kilter, there's a lot of parts of your life that are off kilter because you're almost to that bridge. You're almost to that heart chakra.
I tell you, I've seen some real explicit diagrams as to where these chakras are located. So luckily, we're not getting that detailed because we might get
pretty X-rated.
Yeah, we get X-rated. I'm not kidding. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
I know.
And then the heart chakra, the key to it all.
The key, right?
Yes, and it is. And with the heart chakra, it's all about love. It's about self-love and the love of others. So if you have a closed-off heart chakra, you'd probably find yourself giving away too much to people where, if people ask you for something, you can't say no. Either that or you're just, so closed off where you're just not going to let anybody in. And my heart chakra was closed for a long time. Her father's the one that really helped me heal and open up that heart chakra because he's really pushed me. And it's quite a feeling when you experience that awakening in your heart chakra. I think each chakra, we don't have just one awakening. I think each one has its own awakening with its own lesson and its own growth. And the heart chakra is a big lesson. And it's a hard lesson for a lot of us because once we get hurt, we hold on to that pain. It leaves a scar that is really hard to get it to go away.
Right.
It is.
Worse than physical.
Well, because once you experience that kind of pain, you don't ever want to have that kind of pain again. So you find yourself where you don't open up completely to people.
Build walls.
And you flatline. I flatlined for a long, long time where, nobody could make me mad, but I wasn't happy either at all. And you just you're just going through the motions.
Back up a second, because you're talking about the aura. Now, they've actually proven that the human body glows visible light levels rise and fall with the day, and they've researched it and they can prove it that it does. That your body glows.
Yay, science.
And I'm thinking more the people that are sensitive then can see those auras. Barb could see auras.
Yeah,
Our
see,
guest from last
I'm not
podcast.
that. I can see the white aura around people, and everybody actually can. If you were to focus on him and kind of cross your eyes and focus at the top of his head, and then kind of back up just a little bit, you'll see a white around his body.
No, we're all gonna stare at you cross-eyed.
And it's like that for everybody. And sometimes it takes a little practice, but you can. Unless you're like my 9-year-old who says, "Oh, Mom, your color's purple." I'm like, "How do you know that?" He goes, "Well, all I gotta do is look at the light for a minute, then I look at you and other people, and I can see their colors." I'm like, "Okay."
Is it running in the family?
Oh yes, they all have their little gifts. Some don't want them, but
Did you inherit it from your mom or something?
I think I did. She's always been open to spirituality, but she never really worked on her gifts. I've always seen her as a very gifted medium. She's just never developed them, but she is the one that really got me into my spirituality. But I'm always spewing crazy stuff to my kids. They've just gotten used to it. But if they have the gifts and they want to use them, I don't want them to close off to
Right.
them. I want them to be open.
Right.
That's cool.
Well, we're actually getting the lesson. I like that. And we need food for the soul as important as the food for the body. Shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Cool.
He's all excited.
I like this.
The next one.
Well, the throat chakra, this is where you really start to open up your spiritual gifts. You'll see a lot of mediums who have a very wide open throat chakra because that's how you communicate. Have you ever gotten so angry but didn't say what you wanted to say, so you kind of felt like a little lump right here? That's energy being stuck in your throat chakra, and eventually it builds up. And that's one of the biggest energy things I see in people, is because energy rises. So if you don't let it out, then it gets stuck there. And when a closed down chakra, it's somebody who doesn't speak their truth. So they're either going to just be liars, or they're just going to
Flip tables.
flip tables.
I'm just
Not have the courage to speak up for themselves and stand up for themselves. It'll just stay closed down. And then eventually you'll find yourself having some kind of ailments.
Well, I wear my Moldavite right here.
That's a
So,
powerful stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's going to help open up some intuition sometime. Like I say, though, I'm not in any hurry. You know, I don't expect to be reading palms anytime soon.
That's exactly how I am. I'm taking my journey slow, and
Little by
I got a
little.
great teacher here. I do my
Right.
own research too, but when I get to a point where I don't completely understand the wording or how somebody else explained it to me, she can tell me exactly how it is. Now my husband, he's supportive, but from the garage.
Yeah.
You know? Now, he'll ask Mary questions too, and she'll leave, and he'll be like, I just love how she can explain it to where he can understand it, but she doesn't sound so off the wall. Now, you get some people that are like, I think, way too much into their spiritual selves, and for somebody that's just kind of got some questions, it can be so overwhelming, and you're like, what? Go get in your white jacket. because it's a lot. And for people that have no knowledge at all about the spiritual world and want to learn, for somebody to come at them full board with everything, that's too much. Like, there's still so much that I can't grasp, you know, where I'm like, okay, let's hold off on that. Let's talk about this first. I'm not quite there yet because she's going to lose me. And I think that's why a lot more people would be more spiritually open if they had the right people to go to.
Yeah.
To ask. So to go slow, that's exactly what I'm doing, going at my own pace. Hey, Mama Mary, what's this? How do I, oh, well, and then we record and we have a podcast.
Yeah, obviously my wife's been supporting me in this journey, and it's a change from just ghost hunting. When I was bringing home EVPs of ghost voices, she didn't really want to hear them. I was trying to get a second opinion, and she didn't really want that. And
We're on the same journey, man. We're
Yeah.
on the same
Well, I thought so.
journey.
We're doing the same show. That's what's. Yeah, I know. It's.
Sean's like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, get out of here. listening to EVPs, trying to show pictures. I don't see nothing.
Do you guys investigate?
Well, it always helps to have that second opinion, especially if you have somebody that's more skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to hear it, because if they go, oh, this is saying that, then
Yeah.
you know, you're like, okay, I got something here.
Yeah.
Because when you're an investigator, you're listening for it. You're trying to
Yes.
hear it. So
Exactly.
that's kind of one of the things, yeah.
Yeah, you already go into it with that
Mhm.
idea.
Yeah.
You're a little bit
Mm-hmm.
biased already towards it.
So
So do you guys investigate?
yes, we have a crew. It's the PXL crew. That's what my hat is here. So we have the Paranormal XL Podcast, and then we had the crew about 2 months later. I put that together because we had listeners wanting us to come do investigations. And we're like, so we discussed it, and we handpicked our crew, and half are spiritual, the other half are science. And there's me. I just stay right on the fence, so I can be like, hey, you hear, that type of thing. It's great.
The Hastings area,
All over.
all over Michigan.
Yes, I actually live in Ionia. She's over by Nashville. When we first started, I put out on a Facebook page just asking about certain locations in the Ionia County area. I had a group from Ionia kind of attack me on Facebook, and I didn't say anything about the podcast. I didn't say anything about having a crew, and I'm like, okay, Ionia County's yours. And I was like, man, if this is how it's going to be, I don't want any part of that. But I have met so many awesome paranormal crews and doing
Yeah.
the 13 questions with Paranormal XL Podcast that from all over. Crews that have 16 members in 3 different states to ones that just, it's a husband and wife.
Right.
Husband, wife, and kid. I have some interviews coming up from over in Australia and the UK. So I'm real excited to hear about even there's different superstitions over there and stuff like that. I just think it's so neat to learn, and in the history and just there's just so much to learn.
I'm trying to get them to communicate with us because this podcast goes all over the world, United Kingdom, all over the United Kingdom, Ireland. So we're adding a feature to the show tonight. It's a shout out at the end.
Okay.
See if I can get any of these people to message us back. We do have a friend right here, Koala Bob Jr. is from Australia, our Australian connection with Steve Wilson. He was in here, psychic medium. It would be interested to hear
just an
what they're
update
doing.
on that too, because I know like Dan had messaged him, like he is doing good. Like the fire's not like in his area, but I know like his company's been doing like a lot of work with the putting out the fires. And
Oh yeah,
stuff like
good
that,
point. I
so.
wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dylan and our friend Steve are not in the fires, although the smoke is really disrupting.
Yes, I have my new
Australia.
brother-in-law actually lives in Australia. He just went back. And,
So
that
God
was one
bless
thing.
those
Yes.
people. Yeah.
Scary thing over there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But our friend's not in it, so that's cool. He's headed off to England to tour England now.
That's something I want.
Fine,
That's on my
Dylan.
bucket list.
Right.
Heck yeah.
Like English ancestry, just want to go check all its old historic buildings and do
So
some
much history would just
investigations.
be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt.
So
I'm
beautiful.
wondering, is there anything I can learn from Buddha? I mean, you follow Buddha?
To an extent, I think, I have Buddhas all over, but I believe in that nature and being in touch, and just that's kind of like, trying to find the right word, basing your truth upon just a completely spiritual belief versus, Bible-based or faith-based, of just believing in nature and believing in the collective whole and believing in the universal whole, that, every religion has their own gods, goddesses, and gods. But I love that peace, harmony, and just love. Just that love. Because that is what it's all about.
Well, I'm definitely in tune with nature. I have that going for me. That femininity thing, maybe not so much. But I am working on that. Yeah. Conserving energy. Is there a way to conserve your energy in your different chakras?
Well, conserving your energy would more come from just, the meditation, helping you relax, and being more grounded and being more centered and having that vibration higher. Because what drains your energy is when, you have psychic vampires that come in, and they drain your energy. That person who wants to talk on the phone for an hour, and you're glad they called, but all they did was complain, and now you're tired. That was a psychic vampire that just drains your energy. So
They are definitely real, I can tell you. Not just like a phone. It's just, there's certain people, like, they don't even have to say anything. They just come by you, and you feel drained just being around them.
You can feel it when they walk into a room. So learning how to, block, pushing your aura out, the higher your vibration, the more balanced you are, your aura is going to grow stronger and stronger. And so the stronger it is, the more that energy can't touch you, and you won't feel drained. But, taking baths, that's a good feminine thing. Get some bath bombs.
I bought my wife some for Christmas.
Use some of them.
Take
Get some
them back.
candles.
We're like, I don't know where they went.
I'm going to use some. That I can do. I can take a bubble bath. That I can do.
Oh, repeats.
That's funny.
While you're getting a pedicure?
No, I didn't agree to that, Brandon. They didn't get me there
I don't know what
yet.
he's laughing about.
I don't know
We
either.
we
He's next, so I
volunteered
don't know
them.
what
I know.
he's-
We're all going. I don't.
Yeah, he's next, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Meditation, I think, can be a little spooky, and right along with that, massage and yoga seem to go along with that too, and then also acupuncture. I think they're all seem to come from the East, I guess.
Well, yeah. Yoga, I love yoga, and I do yoga almost every day. And that's really how I got into the chakras, too, is realizing that there's certain poses that you could do. I've done yoga, though, since I was 14, 15 years old. I just didn't realize why I liked it so much. But one of the big things that got me into the Reiki and the energy work is I took my daughter in because she was suffering from a lot of anxiety. And I remember sitting there, we were talking about synchronicities. It's one of those things, just look for the signs. And while I was waiting, while she was talking to the therapist, I looked to my right and I saw a book on Reiki. So I picked it up and I was looking through it. And she called me in and she wanted me, the therapist said, don't worry about your daughter. She's not going to hurt herself. You just have to realize that sometimes people with anxiety, they need to release that energy. And that got me thinking after I was reading the Reiki book about finding ways to release the energy. That's where it all started to really come together for me. So finding ways to release that energy so it's not pent up, that's how you conserve your energy, because it's the negative energy that bogs you down. So learning how to release that is how you're going to protect yourself the most. And crystals, black tourmaline, those are really great crystals to carry on you to protect energy.
Is there something right here you want me to?
This is the black tourmaline.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the larger one in the middle, that's black tourmaline with just clear
This one?
quartz in it.
Yep, set that right in the middle of there.
Okay.
Oh,
go
I'm sorry,
ahead.
I'm
no,
all
you
like-
go ahead.
And then the selenite, the all white one, that's a very angelic stone.
This one right here?
And that one's so angelic that you do not have to cleanse it.
I
It
think
cleanses
everybody
itself.
should
What is
have
that? Is
one
that
of those.
gypsum?
Selenite.
Selenite, the crystallized gypsum. Right. And we have to explain because some people are just listening. They're not watching. So we have to
Gotcha.
describe these. So the tourmaline? What
The
was it?
tourmaline.
Tourmaline is black and
Yes.
white.
Well, normally it's usually just black.
Oh.
But the one in the middle is mixed with clear quartz also. It was cut off together.
Okay.
The selenite, it kind of looks like a wand, and it has lines in it because it's formalized in water. Like that's how it's crushed together, and so that's why you see those lines.
It's a white, almost translucent for
Yeah.
for the people who are just listening.
Well, I think the best way to kind of picture it is like, have you ever seen like the Superman movies?
All right.
Like the Fortress of Solitude. That's what it looks
Oh
like.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Those things he was putting
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
Right. It does, kind of.
Yeah.
You got a crystal ball over there.
Well, of course.
Of course. So you would have fit right in for our Halloween show.
Who doesn't have a crystal ball?
Yeah.
You should probably go get one.
If you
I
don't
brought
have
mine
one,
too.
go get
Yeah,
one.
you should just have one.
And then we've learned how to charge those up. I mean, crystal ball might be a little bit different than the rest.
There's all sorts of different ways. You can put them outside. Holding a crystal ball is something that is more powerful when it's a gift that's given to you. And that's really how you do it, is you hand those down because they grow stronger. But even holding in your hands and setting your intention into it is easy enough activation, but putting it out in the moonlight and cleansing it, it's good to do in the full moon because it cleanses the energy.
We're learning on this show.
Yep.
We're doing it slowly, but we are picking
That's like
this
you were
up.
saying, like learning things. So that's what I like about the podcast is because you could have different guests and slowly pick things up from each guest, you know.
This is the most that we've learned, though. I mean, we've had other people that had crystals on, and we've talked just chakras, just brought up. We didn't really get into it. What else have you got there for the crystals that we want to talk about?
That is a kyanite that I brought back from Salem, and that's actually a very psychic stone. That's what you would carry with yourself if you were trying to open up your third eye.
I don't know if we can describe this one or not. Are they all? Do they all look the same?
It kind of looks like the selenite, but it's
got like crystals in it.
Right.
Too.
Yeah.
It's iridescent.
Yep, kind of long, like a stick, like that.
Yep.
What else?
now that's just the stone I picked up at Salem.
You know what? Everyone said that, though. Everyone that's been here said, "Oh no, I just picked that up
You're like,
because
that was
it was
pretty."
talking to me." You know, I mean, it said
There's something in here.
There shouldn't be.
Oh.
Oh,
I
I thought I emptied it. I took the children
It's a
out of
shrunken
there.
head in there.
Poor babies.
That's my cauldron from Salem.
And there's a
That's
couple
what she
more
got.
though over there, crystals.
And that is a salt rock. And
Oh yeah, like they're
Those are
salt
very
lamps.
popular
They're
now.
very
Yes.
popular. You know what? And I've had mine on once in a while, and I seem to sleep better when it's on, unless it's all in my head. But
Hey, if it helps, it helps.
it seems to, and I have trouble sleeping, so my mind just never stops. That's why I'm up 3-4
That's
in
my
the morning.
challenge, trying to meditate. Sleeping's not a problem, but if I try to meditate, my brain
that's why I do
wants to explore the universe.
That's why I do the guided meditations,
Yeah.
because sitting there, I've gotten to a point now where I can sit there in silence. But at this point, when I meditate, I'm actually getting messages and I'm writing it all down and I'm getting information that I need. So it's different than trying to, raise your vibration spiritually. But that's one of the reasons why I do the affirmations in the mornings, because I'm still meditating, but that's how my mind works. I have to be doing something in order to manifest, so to speak.
I have to admit to you, your voice is so calming. I said this before we went on air. Your voice is so calming, and I listened to that meditation, and I got partway through, and then I woke up, and it was done. So I'm going to
funny
have to go
story.
back, but
A girl messaged me the other day, and she's like, I was sitting in my bathtub, and I had the candles on, and I was so stressed out, and then I just heard a ping on my phone, and it was a message from you with a guided meditation. And she goes, I turned that on, and it was so amazing. I'm like, oh. I didn't know whether to be like, complimented or be like, okay, that's gross. You're in the shower. But, at least she was listening.
You helped her relax. Isn't that what you wanted to do?
That's right.
I guess you put it out. What they do with it, is what it is.
No, it was a big compliment, though.
Yeah. Oh, for
was.
sure.
One thing that I want to do for next month, because I caught it kind of half month, is when you go day by day and kind of set what potentially your day might look like, right? And it's not, you got to take it with a grain of salt, right?
Yes.
This is not meant for you personally. This is for the masses.
Just in
But
general.
take from it what you will.
Exactly.
And when I first started listening to that particular podcast for January, I started writing it down, right? So I would write the date, and then I would take up highlights from what you had said for that particular day, and then I would look back at it and be like, is this really affect me? And there was one day in particular, I was just feeling down in the dumps, and my neighbor had called me and said, why don't you come over and I'll do a makeover on you? And I'm like, that sounds like fun, right? And you had said that day was going to be exciting, fun-filled, and I'm like, holy cow, she hit the nail on the head with that one, right? And
Yeah,
it's fun to kind of see what you're going to be forecasting.
Well, that's what's cool about astrology is it's for everybody. It is because it's the basic energy. The planets affect us so strongly, you would be surprised. You really would. Like, it does not surprise me, literally, that your podcast is on a Wednesday, because Wednesday is ruled by Mercury, which is all about the planets of communication. So I bet there's been some days where things have gone haywire when Mercury goes into retrograde, where you've had days where something just did not work no matter
Those are
what.
the worst days ever. I'm just.
That darn Mercury.
Matt Zuby was here. We didn't.
Well, I don't know if it was in retrograde, but one time I think it was on the other podcast. All of a sudden, this camera just went Roop, fell right on the ground. Gene was sitting over like, because you just see it slowly go and fall.
Yeah, we had Matt here too on a Wednesday, and we had to wait forever for the team to show up. It was like he hung out with us. Now there's 7 days of the week, and there's 7 major chakras. So should you concentrate on one chakra on Monday and move up?
And you can, I'm not so advanced where I would know the exact days of the chakras themselves with which they correlate. So I'm not even going to pretend that I do, but it would make sense because I do the same thing, with the planets. They rule each day. So I focus on a certain planet for each day when I'm doing my meditations.
All right, let's get through this because we're getting late and we got a couple of things that we want to get off the list, like promos, stuff that you guys are up to. So, next one.
The third eye chakra.
Or brow chakra, I've heard. I've had it up to here. So what I'm
Been there, done that.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over. I'm going back to the root base chakra and start over. But I've had it up to here, I think. That's about where I'm at. But I'm going back. I'm going to go back and do it slowly and work at it.
Well, that's all you can do is keep on, building up that energy. The third eye, that's your psychic sight. That is where you connect to the universal whole, the consciousness. There's so much inner consciousness that we don't even realize, but the more you open up that third eye, the more you tap into other realities, especially when the pineal gland starts to open up more, because that's where your information comes from. If look it up, you'll find it really interesting to find the picture of the pineal gland and look up the Eye of Horus. You'll see that they look a lot alike, and they have insight and ideas of why that is. But just research it and get your own ideas on why you think that is. Right. And that's where once we open that up, we start to get our channeling in and our psychic messages, and that's how we communicate with each other. Then if you move up to your crown chakra.
Moving up. I like this color, though. On the
it is a pretty
eye.
color.
Yeah. Oh.
Where's your crown?
Your book's broken.
It's missing a crown.
I got 3 out in my car. Give me a second.
I don't know.
I believe you.
6. I guess that is the crown, the purple one, right?
And it could be that it's more of like usually they have it more of like a violet.
Yeah, it's the 7th chakra.
They have it more of like a violet, more violet color, but still the same thing. And that's where your ascension is. That's where you connect to your higher self, and you connect completely to the universal whole as being completely open. And for me, that's where I'll channel most of my messages from. I'm clear cognizant, so when I open up there, my head will tingle, and that's where I get my information, and I'll automatic write, and I'll write it all down. And it's usually pretty accurate what I write down, but that's the key to it all, is discovering your higher self and discovering your soul self, and then that realization that we are literally spiritual beings living a human experience.
Yeah, and there are other chakras too.
There are, and then you have the higher source chakra, and then you have the star chakra that's way up above. And those are all your auras, part of your aura.
And there was a secret rays. I read about secret rays, and I flipped out. Then after I've added about 10 chakras above the 7, so I was like, okay, enough.
Yeah,
for
you
this.
could go on forever.
We need to do the promos. Brandon, stuff coming up. I know you got stuff coming up. You've got guests coming on the Spirit's Doorway.
Yeah, Jamie Ray's gonna be coming up on our next podcast for the Kent County Paranormal. You find that on a Whole Picture Podcast, where you can find this podcast at, and also you can go on the Kent County Paranormal page. We're gonna have the next 2 Wednesdays. After that, we'll be having Darren Dykehouse that in 2 weeks from now. From Lakeshore Paranormal, so make sure to tune into those. You can go on the Kent County Paranormal Facebook page. You can like that page, and then you can watch the podcast live on there. Friday we don't have technical difficulties. Sometimes that happens, but I do want to add, like, too, in your closing one, if you could put where your podcast, where we can find them at.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So for our show here, we're shooting for the first and third Wednesday. Correct me if I'm wrong, Wayne.
No.
Second and
fourth. And Brandon
Second
does
and
his
fourth.
on the first and third.
There we go. I wanted to get that
Yeah.
straight. So for this podcast right here, for the first podcast for us in February, is that correct, Jamie Ray?
Yep.
From Paranormal Wonders, and Derek Dykehouse from Lakeshore Paranormal. The second podcast in February for our group here is tarot card reader Esther Joy. I loved her the first time. She gave me a reading. I loved it. It was great. The first podcast in March, we have Phil Shaw of Sasquatching in the Snow.
Yes.
Second podcast in March, we're going to have seer Rick Wade, an author. First podcast in April, Living Proof Paranormal Investigations. And then the second podcast for that month would be author and cryptozoologist Shaitan Noir.
Yeah. That's just some of them. Shaitan's got 3 shows. We're going to do a Halloween show again with her.
Oh, I love it.
So,
Fun.
Yeah, cool.
And then I know you guys must have...
well, this time I'm dressing up, so make sure.
Okay. You guys must have loads of stuff going on.